Have you ever wondered if someone close to you is not who they seem? That unsettling feeling in your chest, the one you try to silence with reason, may be the first whisper of truth. We grow up believing that people are mostly good, that a smile means kindness and a helping hand carries no hidden blade. But there are moments when a subtle tension creeps in, when the words you hear and the energy you feel do not match. You sense it in a glance too sharp, a laugh too cold, a kindness that feels calculated. And though you tell yourself you are overthinking, a quiet part of you knows better. Evil does not wear a warning sign. It does not arrive in the obvious form we see in movies or hear about in bedtime stories. It often walks in with warm eyes and a steady voice, speaking the language of trust and understanding. This is why so many good people, strong, intelligent, compassionate souls, are caught off guard. You are not weak for believing in others. You are human. Our very nature is wired for connection, and that is what makes betrayal so disorienting. This is why awareness matters. Not to fill your life with fear, but to give you the clarity to protect your heart and your future. When you can spot the hidden signs of an evil person, you take back control. You are no longer a passive participant in someone else's game. You become the one who sees clearly, who sets boundaries, who refuses to be quietly poisoned by manipulation. And that is a power no one can take from you. Think of the people you care about, the dreams you hold, the life you are building. They are worth guarding. The effort you put into understanding the signs is not just self-defense. It is an act of love for your own potential. It is a choice to stop giving away pieces of your energy to those who would drain it without a second thought. When you choose awareness, you are saying to yourself, my peace matters, my future matters, my heart matters. As you listen now, imagine the relief of knowing you can trust your own instincts. Picture the freedom of walking into relationships with clear eyes and steady confidence. No more second-guessing every word you hear. No more replaying conversations in the dark, wondering if you missed something. Instead, you stand firm, unshaken, because you understand what most people never learn until it is too late. This is more than information, it is transformation. The insights you are about to hear will sharpen your awareness and strengthen your spirit. They will help you recognize the subtle patterns of manipulation before they tighten their grip. And in doing so, you will reclaim your own narrative. You will not be defined by the harm someone else tried to bring. You will rise above it, wiser, stronger, and fully alive. Stay with me, because the moment you learn to see what is hidden is the moment you begin to live with unshakable clarity. Your courage to face this truth will become the very shield that protects the life you are meant to live. You may wonder how people with kind hearts, open minds, and good intentions can be caught in the web of someone who means them harm. It begins with the way we are built. From the first days of life, our minds are wired to trust. We survive and grow because we depend on others. We are taught that cooperation is strength and that relationships are safe places to rest. This natural drive is a beautiful part of being human, but it can also be the very opening that darkness slips through. The longing to belong is not weakness. It is a core human need. We all crave acceptance, approval, and a quiet reassurance that we matter. When someone offers that sense of belonging, our defenses soften. We want to believe the best in people because believing otherwise feels like standing alone in a storm. This instinct is powerful, and it can blind even the most cautious heart. Those who carry hidden malice know this. They understand that trust is not taken, it is given, and they learn to earn it in ways that disarm even the most watchful soul. Psychologists call it the halo effect. When someone shows one positive trait, charm, intelligence, generosity, we unconsciously assume the rest of their character must be good too. Our minds fill in the gaps with hope, not evidence. Then comes confirmation bias. Once we decide someone is kind, we search for proof that we are right and overlook signs that we are wrong. It is not carelessness, it is how the human brain conserves energy. We look for patterns that match our beliefs and quietly dismiss what threatens our view. Evil understands these patterns. It plays the long game. It begins with small gestures, just enough kindness to feel safe, just enough attention to make you feel seen. It waits for you to relax. It waits for your guard to drop. And when you begin to trust, it starts to shape the narrative, bending reality so subtly that you question your own perception before you question theirs. But this truth should not make you fearful. It should make you powerful. Seeing how the mind works, gives you the tools to protect yourself without losing the beauty of trust. You can choose to stay open-hearted while staying awake. You can value connection without surrendering your clarity. Awareness is not a cage, it is the key that opens the door to real freedom. Do not mistake your empathy for weakness. The capacity to trust is proof of your humanity and your strength. It is what allows love, friendship, and meaning to flourish. The goal is not to build walls, but to build wisdom. Wisdom that recognizes the signs before damage is done. Wisdom that keeps your heart soft, but your eyes clear. When you understand that being misled is not a flaw, but a function of how your mind is designed, the shame begins to dissolve. You stop asking, how could I have been so blind? And start asking, how can I learn to see more clearly next time? That single shift is an act of courage. It is the moment you reclaim your power, the moment you decide that your story will not be written by those who thrive on deception. Your trust remains a gift, but it is now guided by awareness. And that awareness is the shield that no hidden darkness can break. Once you begin to see how trust can be used as a weapon, you start to notice the subtle ways darkness hides behind charm. It is rarely loud or obvious. It enters quietly, dressed in generosity and wrapped in smiles that seem genuine. This is not the harmless warmth of a kind soul, but a carefully chosen disguise. The first tactic of a manipulative heart is to make you feel special, to create the illusion that you are seen and valued above others. And because every human being longs to be recognized, it works. They will flood you with attention when you least expect it. Compliments arrive not as casual words, but as precise strikes, designed to touch the places where you secretly feel unnoticed. Small gifts, thoughtful gestures, perfectly timed favors, all of it appears spontaneous, yet each move is calculated to build a sense of debt, to make you believe you have found someone rare and irreplaceable. Your brain, wired to associate pleasure with safety, begins to lower its defenses. The dopamine rush from being appreciated blinds you to the motive behind the mask. This false generosity often feels intoxicating. You may even tell yourself you have finally met someone who truly understands you. But pay attention to the pattern. Real kindness is steady and unforced. It is not a sudden flood of affection that demands your loyalty in return. Manipulators are experts at creating an emotional high, so that when they begin to pull away or reveal small cruelties, you cling tighter, desperate to get back to the sweetness they used to lure you in. It is important to recognize that this strategy is not about love or friendship. It is about control. They are not giving because they care. They are giving because it binds you, because each gift or compliment becomes a thread in the net they are weaving around you. When the moment comes to twist the truth or demand something in return, you will hesitate, remembering all the times they seemed so generous. That hesitation is exactly what they count on. Understanding this pattern is not meant to make you suspicious of every act of kindness. It is meant to give you clarity so you can tell the difference between a heart that gives freely and a hand that offers gifts as bait. True generosity has no hidden clock ticking behind it. It does not shift suddenly or come with unspoken rules. It does not leave you wondering what you owe. Hold on to the belief that genuine connection still exists. You do not need to harden your heart or close yourself off to the world. Instead, let your awareness sharpen your intuition. Let it teach you to value consistency over intensity. The person who truly cares will show up not in grand gestures, but in steady presence, in quiet respect, in words that match their actions. When you can see the mask of charm for what it is, you reclaim the power to decide who earns your trust. You no longer mistake calculated flattery for love or strategic favors for friendship. You rise above the illusion and stand in the strength of your own discernment. And in that strength, no false kindness can hold you captive. There's a darker signal that reveals itself when the mask begins to slip, a quiet thrill that cannot be hidden, no matter how carefully it is disguised. You may catch it in a fleeting smirk when you share your struggles, a glint of satisfaction in their eyes when life tests you. It is not the empathy of someone who cares, but the secret pleasure of someone who feeds on pain. Evil does not always shout or rage. Sometimes it simply smiles when you hurt, and that smile can pierce deeper than any spoken cruelty. You will sense it first as a feeling before you can name it. a subtle chill when they react to your disappointment, with a pause that lingers a little too long, an almost imperceptible upward curve of the lips when you confess a setback. Your intuition notices before your mind catches up. And in that instant, your spirit whispers that something is wrong. Do not dismiss that whisper. The body often knows long before the brain gathers proof. Psychologists speak of microexpressions, tiny flashes of emotion that flicker across the face before a person can control them. These betray what words work to conceal. Someone who secretly delights in another's misfortune cannot fully hide that spark of satisfaction. It is a reflex, a revelation in a fraction of a second. While they may quickly cover it with a sympathetic tone or a carefully rehearsed frown, you have already felt the truth. This hidden pleasure in your pain is more than mere insensitivity. It is a sign of something far more corrosive, the absence of empathy. A person who is whole will feel your hurt, even when they do not fully understand it. They may not always know the perfect words, but their spirit bends toward compassion. The one who quietly rejoices when you suffer has chosen the opposite path. Their sense of power grows when you falter. Your weakness becomes their proof of superiority. Recognizing this is not about paranoia, it is about liberation. When you allow yourself to believe what you feel, you stop searching for excuses to explain away the unease. You stop rewriting reality to make someone else appear kind. Instead, you trust the wisdom that rises from within. That trust is an act of courage. It protects your heart from the slow poison of hidden malice. It can be painful to accept that someone you let close would ever find joy in your pain, but turning away from that truth keeps you in their grip. Facing it breaks the spell. It reminds you that your worth is not defined by how anyone reacts to your struggles. Their pleasure in your suffering is not a reflection of your value. It is an exposure of their emptiness. You are not powerless in the presence of such darkness. You hold the ability to notice, to name, and to step away. Every time you honor the quiet warning inside you, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. You grow stronger not by hardening your heart, but by trusting it. And as you learn to recognize the quiet pleasure in your pain for what it truly is, you will no longer be an unsuspecting target. You will be a soul awakened, untouchable by those who thrive in shadows. Once you become aware of that quiet pleasure in your pain, the next pattern often appears like a slow, creeping fog, the twisting of truth. It does not begin with blatant lies. It begins with small distortions so subtle you almost miss them. A story told with a missing detail. A conversation recalled in a way that doesn't quite match your memory. A gentle suggestion that perhaps you misunderstood. Each shift is slight enough to make you question your own clarity. And that questioning is exactly the trap. The human mind seeks certainty. When reality becomes blurry, we instinctively search for solid ground. A skilled manipulator understands this and uses it to make you depend on them for the real version of events. They will present themselves as the keeper of clarity while quietly rewriting the story to their advantage. This is the essence of gaslighting, not a single grand deception, but a series of tiny adjustments that slowly erode your trust in your own perception. At first, you may feel only mild confusion. You replay conversations trying to remember the exact words. You wonder if you were tired, distracted, or simply overreacting. But as the small twists multiply, the ground beneath you begins to tilt. What you once knew with confidence starts to feel uncertain. You begin to doubt not just the manipulator, but yourself. That doubt is the power they seek. Psychologists have long recognized that when a person's sense of reality is destabilized, they become more vulnerable to control. Our brains crave coherence. We would rather accept someone else's false version of events than live in the anxiety of constant uncertainty. A person who thrives on deception knows this instinctively. They do not need to shout their lies. They only need to keep you second guessing until you surrender your own judgment. This slow erosion of self-trust can feel like a quiet suffocation. It steals not only your confidence, but also your sense of identity. Yet recognizing the tactic is the first step to breaking it. Awareness brings the fog into focus. You begin to see the pattern, the way explanations shift, the way apologies never match the harm, the way words are carefully chosen to make you feel at fault for even noticing. Refusing to be fooled does not require anger. It requires anchoring yourself in your own reality. Keep your own record, whether in writing, in memory, or in the steady witness of trusted friends. When someone tries to rewrite what you have seen and heard, you will have your own truth to stand on. That truth is your shield. Understand this clearly. Their lies do not reveal your weakness. They reveal their fear of being seen. Deception is the weapon of those who cannot face the light. Your clarity is the power they cannot steal. Each time you choose to believe your own eyes and trust your own memory, you reclaim the territory of your mind. And with every step you take toward that inner certainty, the hold of their manipulation crumbles. What once confused you now strengthens you. What once felt like chaos now becomes the ground on which you stand unshaken, guided not by their distorted words, but by the unbreakable truth you carry within. After the truth has been bent again and again, another wound begins to open, the slow and calculated assault on your worth. It does not arrive as an open attack. It comes disguised as teasing, advice, or harmless jokes that land just a little too hard. At first you might laugh along, telling yourself you are being sensitive. Yet beneath the surface, their words begin to carve small cracks in the way you see yourself. Those cracks, left unchecked, can grow into deep fractures in your confidence. It starts with comments that seem almost playful, a remark about how you never quite get things right, a suggestion that you are too emotional, too naive, too much, or not enough. These are not random slips of the tongue. They are deliberate nudges meant to unsettle you. Over time, these small barbs accumulate, and you start to wonder if perhaps they are right. This is how the undermining takes root, not in a single blow, but in a steady drip that wears away the rock of your self-belief. Psychology shows how repeated negative messaging reshapes the mind. When you hear something often enough, even when you know it is false, the brain begins to accept it as reality. This is called the illusory truth effect. The manipulator knows that repetition works like a slow poison. They do not need you to agree with them at first. They only need you to hear the message until it feels familiar. Familiarity can feel like truth, and truth, once doubted, becomes hard to defend. Soon you find yourself second-guessing your talents, questioning your instincts, even apologizing for qualities that once brought you pride. This erosion of self-esteem is not accidental. It is their strategy. A person who doubts their own value becomes easier to control. When your self-image is shaken, you become more likely to seek their approval, to chase the very validation they withhold. They create the wound and then present themselves as the only source of healing. But this is where your strength can rise. The power to reclaim your worth does not lie in proving them wrong. It lies in remembering who you have always been. Their words are not a mirror of your truth. They are a reflection of their own emptiness, their own hunger for control. When you begin to see this clearly, the grip of their criticism weakens. You start to recognize the difference between constructive feedback that comes from care and subtle attacks designed to break you. Your value is not a debate. It is not defined by someone else's opinion or by the volume of their voice. It is the quiet, unshakable fact of your existence. To protect it, you must choose to stand guard over your own mind. Speak to yourself with the kindness they withhold. Surround yourself with those who see your light without condition. Let their truth be their own burden and refuse to carry it as your own. Every time you reject the lie that you are less than enough, you reclaim a piece of your power. Every time you meet their quiet insults with inner certainty, you fortify the walls of your spirit. Their attempts to diminish you become the very fuel that strengthens your resolve. And as your confidence grows beyond their reach, you become untouchable. Not because their words stop, but because you know beyond doubt that their words were never about you at all. When constant criticism has weakened the ground beneath you, another tactic often follows, an attempt to cut you off from the people and sources of strength that could help you stand tall again. It rarely begins as an open demand. It starts with whispers of doubt planted carefully into conversations. A quiet suggestion that someone close to you cannot be trusted. A gentle remark that a friend is jealous or a family member does not truly understand you. The words are soft, but their effect is sharp. They are meant to loosen the bonds that hold you to others, one thread at a time. Human beings draw power from connection. Healthy relationships remind us of who we are and reflect back our worth when we momentarily forget it. A manipulator knows this and will slowly work to erode those lifelines. They may frame it as concern for your well-being, warning that certain people will only hurt you. They may disguise their motives as care, claiming they simply want what is best. But behind the mask of worry lies a deeper intention, to become your only source of validation. As the circle around you begins to shrink, you may not notice at first. Invitations from friends may feel less urgent, calls from loved ones less frequent. Sometimes it is because you start to pull away without even realizing it, influenced by the subtle doubts that have been sown. You might find yourself questioning long-standing friendships, wondering if those you once trusted are secretly against you. This is the slow work of isolation, and it thrives in silence. Psychology warns how isolation amplifies control. When you feel cut off from support, your brain instinctively seeks security where it seems most available, even if that source is the very person who is causing the harm. This creates a dangerous dependency. The manipulator positions themselves as the one voice you can rely on, the one person who truly gets you. Over time, your world grows smaller and their influence grows larger. Breaking this pattern begins with recognizing the strategy for what it is. The doubts they plant are not insights, they are tools of control. True friends may sometimes disagree with you, but they will never demand that you abandon others. Genuine care invites you to build connections, not to tear them down. The presence of people who challenge you to grow is not a threat to love, it is evidence of it. Reclaiming your connections is an act of courage and self-preservation. Reach out to those who have always stood with you, even if distance or silence has crept in. Speak honestly about what you have experienced. The simple act of sharing breaks the power of secrecy. It restores perspective and reminds you that you are not alone and never were. Every relationship worth keeping will welcome your return with understanding. Those who truly care will stand with you as you heal and rebuild. Their voices will help you remember the truth of who you are, a truth that no manipulator can erase. When you protect your connections and refuse to be divided, you reclaim the community that nourishes your spirit. And in that unity, the grip of isolation shatters. You become stronger than the scheme that sought to make you small, and the power they once held dissolves in the light of the bonds you choose to protect. When their attempts to isolate you no longer satisfy their hunger for control, the most revealing trait emerges, the absence of guilt or remorse. This is the point where the mask of humanity falls away and you see the emptiness beneath. A person capable of true empathy will feel the weight of their actions, even when they have made mistakes. They will wrestle with conscience, seek forgiveness, and strive to repair what has been broken. But the one who carries darkness as their companion feels no such pull. Their harm is not followed by regret, it is followed by justification. You may confront them, hoping to awaken a spark of understanding. You may lay out the facts, believing that clarity will bring apology. Instead, you meet a cold deflection, a calm denial, or a chilling smile that tells you nothing you say has pierced their heart. This is not misunderstanding. This is the deliberate rejection of responsibility. They will twist the story until you are left questioning whether you were ever hurt at all, or worse, whether you are the one who caused the pain. This lack of remorse is not a minor flaw. It is a signal of profound moral disengagement. Psychologists describe it as a state where empathy is switched off and self-interest reigns. It allows a person to inflict harm without the natural consequence of guilt. To them, harm is not a tragedy, it is a tool. Your suffering is simply evidence that their strategy works. They may even cloak their actions in noble language, insisting that they were teaching you a lesson or protecting you from something worse. These rationalizations are not explanations. They are shields for an empty conscience. Understanding this truth is both unsettling and liberating. It is unsettling because it forces you to release the hope that they will one day see the damage they have done and feel the weight of it. But it is liberating because it frees you from the endless cycle of waiting for an apology that will never come. You stop bargaining with reality. You stop handing your healing to someone who has no intention of giving you closure. Your power lies in recognizing that their lack of remorse has nothing to do with your worth. It is not proof that your pain is small or that your story does not matter. It is proof only of their emptiness. Their inability to feel guilt does not diminish the value of your feelings. It exposes the depth of their own disconnection from humanity. This realization gives you permission to step away without explanation. You do not need their confession to validate your experience. You do not need their acknowledgement to begin your recovery. Your healing is not dependent on their conscience. It begins the moment you decide that their silence, their excuses, their cold indifference will not define you. Carry this truth forward. Your capacity to feel, to care, to ache is not weakness. It is your greatest strength. While they hide from the weight of conscience, you rise with it. Your empathy is the evidence of your humanity, and it is the very force that will guide you toward a life untethered from their darkness. Seeing clearly that remorse will never come marks a turning point inside you. For perhaps the first time, you understand that your healing and your future cannot wait for someone else to admit the harm they caused. The power to move forward has always been yours. Awareness becomes more than knowledge. It becomes the spark of transformation. You are no longer the person who was quietly manipulated and doubted. You are the person who has learned to recognize the patterns and refuses to live under their shadow. This recognition is the beginning of freedom. It is the moment when the fog lifts and you see that their actions were never a reflection of your worth. What they tried to take from you, your confidence, your peace, your faith in others, was never truly theirs to own. The pain you have endured does not define you. It reveals a deeper strength that even you may not have known existed. Every time you chose to rise after being pushed down, every time you questioned the lies and reached for truth, you built a resilience that cannot be broken. Psychologists call this post-traumatic growth, the remarkable ability of human beings to emerge from adversity not just intact, but stronger and more compassionate. What was meant to shatter you becomes the very fire that tempers your spirit. Your empathy grows wiser, no longer blind, but still open. Your boundaries become clearer, not from fear, but from hard-earned wisdom. You begin to see that every painful lesson has forged within you a courage that cannot be faked or borrowed. This courage is not about becoming hard or cold. It is about standing in the world with open eyes and an open heart, knowing you can protect yourself without closing yourself off. It is the strength to trust again, but this time with discernment. It is the quiet confidence that you can face darkness without losing your light. The scars you carry are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you survived and grew. They are the story of your strength written on your soul. Do not underestimate the significance of this awakening. To recognize evil and choose not to be defined by it is an act of profound power. It is the point where you shift from being someone who endured harm to someone who transforms it. Your story is no longer about what was done to you. It is about what you have become. You are no longer a passive character in someone else's game. You are the author of your next chapter, and you hold a pen. Let this awareness ignite a deeper sense of purpose. The clarity you have gained is not only for your own protection, it is a light that can guide others. Your strength, your insight, your refusal to be fooled. These are gifts you now carry into every relationship and every dream you pursue. You embody a wisdom earned through pain and polished by resilience. The moment you see that their lack of remorse cannot bind you, you reclaim every part of your life they tried to diminish. You stand taller, breathe deeper, and move forward with unshakable clarity. The darkness they brought no longer defines the path ahead. It becomes the contrast that makes your light burn brighter, a light that no one can extinguish. With clarity burning inside you, the next act of strength is learning to protect that light with boundaries that honor your worth. Boundaries are not walls built from fear. They are the clear lines that allow love and respect to flourish. They tell the world how you expect to be treated and remind you that your energy is precious. When you have faced the kind of darkness that feeds on control, setting these limits is more than self-care. It is an act of liberation. At first, the very idea may stir unease. You might worry that saying no will disappoint others, that drawing a line will make you seem cold or unkind. This fear is natural because from childhood, many of us are taught to please, to soften our needs, to keep peace at the cost of our own well-being. Yet the truth is that every healthy relationship thrives on boundaries. Without them, trust erodes and resentment takes root. With them, love has room to breathe. Psychologists have long shown that people who practice clear boundary setting experience greater self-respect, stronger relationships, and lower levels of anxiety. This is because boundaries give you a stable sense of where you end and someone else begins. They protect your time, your emotions, and your values from being consumed by those who would exploit them. Boundaries are not punishments. They are definitions of dignity. When you speak a firm no, you are not rejecting others. You are affirming yourself. You are saying that your life is not an open door for manipulation, that your heart is not a playground for someone else's chaos. And while those who once thrived on your silence may resist, their discomfort is not your burden. It is the sound of control slipping from their grasp. There is power in practicing simple, direct language. You do not need elaborate explanations or apologies. A clear statement, I will not discuss this, that does not work for me, I need time to think, is enough. The strength lies not in defending your boundary, but in calmly holding it. Each time you do, you reinforce to yourself that your peace is worth protecting. This practice transforms more than your relationships with others. It transforms the relationship you have with yourself. Every boundary you set is a message to your own heart that you are worthy of respect. It builds an inner trust that no manipulator can erode. You begin to feel a quiet confidence rising, the assurance that you can care for others without abandoning yourself. Remember that boundaries are not barriers to love. They are the framework in which real love can thrive. Those who truly care for you will not see your boundaries as rejection. They will respect them because they want you whole and free. Those who resist only reveal that they were invested not in your well-being, but in their control. Each time you honor your limits, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. Each time you stand firm, you strengthen the walls of your inner sanctuary. And with every boundary you set, you turn the lessons of your pain into a lasting shield of wisdom. This is not selfishness. It is the purest form of self-respect. The proof that the darkness you have faced has only made your light impossible to dim. Every boundary you hold strengthens a truth that cannot be shaken. Your life is your own. From this truth comes a deeper calling to rise beyond mere survival and create a life built on purpose and meaning. Pain has carved space inside you, and now that space can be filled with something greater than fear. What once felt like loss becomes the soil for growth. What once felt like betrayal becomes a lesson that sharpens your vision. You are no longer merely avoiding harm. You are moving toward a life defined by the values you choose. This is the moment to ask yourself what you truly want, not what others have told you to desire. The voices of manipulation, of judgment, of false love have no claim on your future. Listen instead to the quiet stirrings of your own heart. Perhaps it is the urge to create, to serve, to connect in ways that bring light to others. Perhaps it is the simple longing for peace that no one can take away. Whatever form it takes, it is the sound of your authentic self calling you home. Psychology calls this self-actualization, the process of becoming who you were meant to be. It is not a sudden transformation, but a steady unfolding. Each small step you take toward your truth strengthens the path ahead. It might mean releasing habits that no longer serve you. It might mean embracing challenges that once scared you. Growth does not always feel comfortable, but it is always worth it. The discomfort you feel is often a sign that you are breaking free from old patterns and stepping into a wider life. There will be moments when the shadows of the past try to return, when memories whisper that you are still bound by what happened. But remember, awareness is your shield. You can acknowledge the pain without living in it. You can honor what you have survived without letting it define you. Every breath you take in this freedom proves that you are more than the darkness you endured. As you move forward, you begin to attract relationships that reflect your new strength. People who value honesty, kindness, and respect will feel drawn to you. They will not be intimidated by your clarity. They will be inspired by it. This is the natural law of growth. When you stand in your truth, you invite truth around you. Your life becomes a quiet beacon, showing others that healing is possible and that courage is contagious. Purpose is not found in grand gestures alone. It lives in the daily choices you make to stay aligned with what you know is right. It lives in the patience you show yourself as you build a future free from fear. Each morning, you rise with intention. You reclaim a little more of your destiny. The scars you carry no longer weigh you down. They guide you. They remind you not only of what you overcame, but of what you are capable of becoming. You are no longer defined by the darkness that once surrounded you. You are defined by the strength that carried you through it. Your purpose is unfolding, and it is stronger than anything that tried to break you. Stand in that purpose. Live it fully, and let it be the proof that even in a world where evil exists, the light within you cannot be extinguished. When you choose to live from this place of purpose, you awaken a force inside you that cannot be silenced. It is the quiet power of someone who has faced darkness and decided to rise anyway. You no longer live in reaction to what hurt you. You live in creation of what inspires you. The energy that once went into surviving now becomes the energy that builds, creates, and uplifts. Your life begins to reflect the courage it took to get here, and that courage becomes contagious to those who witness it. This is where true freedom lives. It is not found in denying the past or pretending pain never existed. Freedom is the ability to hold your story without being held by it. It is the moment you realize that the scars on your heart are not chains but evidence of healing. Every time you breathe in and feel the steady rhythm of your own strength, you affirm that you are no longer defined by someone else's cruelty. You are defined by the light you chose to keep alive. Psychologists speak of resilience as more than simply bouncing back. It is the capacity to grow stronger through adversity. You have not merely returned to who you were, you have become someone wiser, someone with an unshakable sense of self. Resilience is a quiet confidence, a grounded presence that whispers, I can handle whatever comes. It does not mean you will. Never feel fear or sadness. It means those emotions no longer control you. They rise, they pass, and you remain whole. As this resilience deepens, you begin to experience a new kind of peace. It is not the fragile peace of avoiding conflict, but the solid peace of knowing you can face it. You understand that life will always contain both light and shadow, and you are no longer afraid of either. You see that the same strength that carried you through betrayal will carry you through any storm. This peace is not passive. It is an active, living force that grounds every choice you make. From this peace flows an even greater gift, the ability to lead others by example. Without preaching, without forcing, you become a living testament to the possibility of transformation. People sense it in the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you hold your own boundaries without apology. Your journey becomes a silent invitation for others to believe in their own strength. Your life itself becomes a message that says, healing is real, courage is possible. You can rise too. This is the power that evil can never take away. It tried to break you, but in the attempt, it revealed the depth of your spirit. It tried to silence you, but it only sharpened your voice. You stand now as proof that even when darkness surrounds you, the human spirit is greater. This truth is not just for you. It is a light you carry into every interaction, every dream, every act of kindness. You have moved beyond survival into a life of meaning. You have transformed pain into purpose and fear into faith. And now, every step you take forward becomes a declaration that no matter how deep the night, your inner light will always rise. The light you carry now does more than illuminate your own path. It casts a glow that reaches others still lost in darkness. There are people around you who silently fight battles they cannot name. They carry hidden wounds, wondering if anyone can truly understand their pain. Your presence becomes a quiet answer to their unspoken questions. You don't need to offer grand speeches or perfect solutions. Your very existence as someone who has faced harm and chosen growth sends a message that hope is real and strength can be built. This kind of influence is subtle yet profound. Social psychologists have found that courage is contagious. When one person stands tall, others feel permission to rise. Your resilience creates a ripple effect, shifting the atmosphere of every room you enter. Without effort, you become a living example of what it means to overcome and to stand unbroken. Even a single conversation, a single moment of authentic kindness can plant seeds of courage in someone else's heart. Yet your light is not about saving others. It's about being fully yourself, grounded, honest, whole. When you embody the lessons you've earned, you give others a mirror of what is possible. You show that it is not weakness to be wounded, and it is not naive to hope. You prove that even in a world where cruelty exists, the human spirit is capable of extraordinary renewal. Your life becomes a quiet revolution, a challenge to every force that tried to diminish you. This influence does not require perfection. In fact, your willingness to show your scars makes your strength more real. People trust what is authentic, not what pretends to be flawless. When you speak with openness and listen without judgment, you create a safe space for others to explore their own pain. This is the kind of leadership that transforms communities, not through power or control, but through the courage to be real. As you continue to live in this truth, you will notice that your relationships shift. Those who thrive on manipulation or fear will drift away, unable to hold you in their grip. In their place, you will attract people who resonate with your clarity, who value respect and reciprocity. These connections are not built on need or dependence, they are built on mutual strength. They remind you that healthy love is not about control, but about freedom and trust. The impact of your journey reaches beyond individuals. Every act of integrity, every boundary you hold, every moment you choose compassion over bitterness contributes to a collective healing. You become part of something larger than yourself, a quiet movement of people who refuse to let darkness win. Your life becomes evidence that one person's courage can inspire many, that even in the presence of evil, goodness multiplies. Carry this awareness as both a responsibility and a gift. Your light is not a burden, it is a beacon. It shows others that transformation is possible, that wounds can become wisdom, and that no force of cruelty can silence the human capacity for renewal. You are living proof that even when faced with the darkest intentions, the power of a resilient heart can shape a brighter world. As your light touches others, something remarkable begins to happen inside you. You start to feel a sense of belonging that is no longer tied to the approval of those who once tried to break you. This belonging is deeper, anchored in your own truth and in the quiet recognition that you are part of something larger than yourself. It is the unshakable awareness that your life carries meaning beyond the wounds of the past. What once felt like isolation now feels like connection to humanity, to purpose, to a strength that cannot be measured by the harm you endured. This kind of belonging is not about fitting into someone else's mold. It is about standing fully in who you are and finding resonance with those who honor it. The people drawn to your courage see not only the pain you have survived, but the wisdom you embody. They recognize in you a spirit that refused to be crushed. Their presence in your life is not an accident. It is the natural response to the energy you now carry, an energy shaped by struggle and refined by resilience. Psychologists describe this stage of growth as a shift from self-protection to self-expansion. You no longer build walls to keep danger out. You build bridges to bring authentic connection in. Your heart, once guarded out of necessity, now opens with discernment. You know the value of trust because you have learned it the hard way. You understand that real connection does not demand the surrender of your boundaries, but flourishes because of them. This is where love, in its truest form, begins to thrive, not the false love that manipulates or controls, but the steady love that respects and uplifts. You may feel it in friendships that are free of pretense, in relationships built on mutual respect, or in the quiet solidarity of people who have also walked through darkness. These bonds do not erase the past, they help to rewrite it. They remind you that even after betrayal, trust can be rebuilt. Even after harm, hearts can heal together. As you welcome these connections, you discover that giving and receiving love becomes an act of strength, not risk. You no longer fear that kindness will be exploited because you trust yourself to see clearly and to act when something is wrong. You are no longer vulnerable in the old way. You are open in a new way. Your openness is a choice rooted in confidence rather than fear. This belonging and this love deepen your sense of purpose. They remind you that your journey was never only about survival. It was about awakening. You see now that every painful step was shaping you into someone who can stand as a beacon for others. Someone who proves that even in the presence of evil, the human spirit can create beauty. You embody the truth that connection, when chosen with wisdom, is one of the greatest forces for healing. This is the full circle of resilience. You have faced darkness and emerged not just unbroken, but expansive. You are not defined by the harm you endured. You are defined by the love you are now able to give and receive. In that love, your life speaks a quiet but undeniable truth. Nothing, not cruelty, not betrayal, not even the deepest wounds, can diminish the light of a heart that chooses to shine.